Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to At America, the U.S. Embassy's American Center. And our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States with me, Hasna Rohani. Greetings of Thank you very much. Greetings of virtue, peace, and good health to all of us. First of all, I would like to welcome all YCL delegates, and I would also like to welcome our friends from Universitas Indonesia. Thank you all for being here with us today. So we are delighted to welcome all audiences to join the ASEAN youth leaders for a thought-provoking discussion on how artificial intelligence is paving the way for transformative social impact and driving positive change for social good. On today's event that we'll be having, harnessing the power of AI for social good. I would also like to inform you that this event is also a part of the agenda of the YCL Matters Forum Leading with Impact. And now, without further ado, to begin our discussion, allow me to invite our moderator for today's session from YCL Alumni Singapore. Please give a welcome to Vera.
Hi everyone, and thank you Hasna for the introduction. Firstly, welcome to all the guests over here. YCL! Fantastic, and we also have young leaders as well joining us from Universitas Indonesia. Welcome to all of you as well. And not forgetting, we have a web audience today. In fact, a web audience is streaming in from different embassies or US embassies around Southeast Asia. So let's say hi and give a wave to our web audience. All right, so my name is Vera, and I'm actually a part of YCL alumni. I was on the 2016 Professional Fellows Program and had the good fortune to go to Tennessee and understand how environmental sustainability is taken care of over there. Subsequently, I started working in the AI space, and I deliver a lot of artificial intelligence training, and it's so good to actually have this discussion around how AI can be used for social good, right? So it gives me great pleasure to actually invite our speakers, rather our panelists on stage. Maybe first have Mr. Agung. So Mr. Agung is basically from Google. He is a government affairs and public policy manager, right? And in fact, his relationship to the US was that he went on the 5-week US government-funded exchange program at Temple University on religious pluralism and democracy. And our next panelist is none other than Annabelle Kwok. Annabelle? Annabelle also happens to be a close friend, and she's actually most recently, right, a regional AI director at Prudential Corporation. She has just left that to do something exciting next. We can hear more about that, I hope. And last but not least, I'd like to invite Non Kasipat. So he goes by Non. As you know, many Thais have nicknames. He goes by Non, and Non is basically the Chief Communications Officer of One Growth, all right? So maybe before we start the Q&A, oh, I should sit over there. Okay, thank you. Now, before we begin, maybe we can have the panelists share a little bit about their journey, and maybe we start with Mr. Agung first.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here after 3 days, doing the ASEAN Summit stuff. It's really good to see a passionate young people like all of you. So I'm actually right now looking after public policy at Google Indonesia, specifically on supporting developers and startups. So if any one of you are actually startups founders or interested to work in startups, I'm happy to chat further after this session. So yeah, looking forward to this discussion today. Sorry. Now it's the presentation start today. All right. I'm actually given around 10-minute presentations. I'll be presenting the things that Google has been doing in terms of AI. So just to give a little bit of context here for anyone, there has been a discussion around AI responsibility across the industries and civil societies. But the accepted definition of AI has remained elusive. AI responsibility has come to be associated most of the time with only mitigating risk. But it's actually more than that. The way Google see it, it actually has two key aspects. Not only mitigating risk and complexities, but also helping people addressing social and scientific challenges. The way we see it, our approach is that AI needs to be bold, or we call it in Indonesia berani, and responsible, or bertanggung jawab. To use responsible AI means that we have to maximize the positive benefits of AI to a wider society, but also addressing social challenges. Google is among the first company globally to publish a list of AI principles. I think it's back in 2018. I wasn't there. But I'm proud to say that this principle has been the key guiding points for us when we're actually developing AI products. It has to be socially beneficial. We avoid creating unfair bias. It has to be built upon safety, accountable to people. It also has to incorporate a privacy by design. So those sort of, points that Google has been guiding us for years to basically develop an AI that is beneficial for all. And I think the last point that I mentioned here is that we have to do it together. It's not the task of Google alone. It's the task of civil societies. It's the role of you as a students to basically criticize what we've been doing. We need that inputs and feedbacks to move forward with what will be best to have a responsible AI. The thing that we were not pursuing is that we will not pursue AI to harm people or give the injury to people. We will not pursue AI to develop a weapon or use your personal data to scrutinize all of your daily life. We will not pursue that because we've already been guided by our principles. And today, I think among other things, I'm very happy to share just a number of things or features that we've built globally that might be relevant in Indonesia as well as in Southeast Asian context. So I'm gonna be sharing with all of you 3 AI for good projects that we had in the regions that might be very interesting and you don't know about it. So let's deep dive on the first project. Green Light Project. It's we've launched it last year, December. We've had this Google for Indonesia event every year. And then during this event, we've actually launched this Green Light projects together with the Department of Transportation, Jakarta. Jakarta is actually the first capital city in Southeast Asia where we actually pilot these projects after India. So what this project intends to do is that this project wants to help cut the emission as well as to reduce carbon emissions from the cars. The way it works, the question is about how does it work? So if you can see the green arrow over there, what we do is to analyze. Google help analyze anonymized data from the navigation system in the intersections in Jakarta, or we call it perempatan. Yeah. So we've actually pilot 6 intersections in Jakarta, and then we've actually analyzes the location data from our navigation system. Moving forward, after we analyze it, we do the calculation. We help calculate intersection traffic flow metrics in those intersections. And then the last, we provide recommendations. Google will not force our key stakeholders here to do whatever that we actually telling them to do, but what we can provide is only the recommendation so that they know what to do to minimize the the lengthy of the wait in the green lights in those intersections. It's been almost 7 months since this project is launched. Um, I cannot refill the outcome yet because we're gonna be refilling the outcome of this projects during our Google for Indonesia this year in October. So watch out and yeah, more informations on this. And then you can probably for Indonesians here or Jakartans, you might know which intersections later on that might be beneficial for this green light projects be affected. Moving on, public alerts. I'm not sure whether you take this for granted or you already know about this. So in terms of crisis, what you need to do is that you have to know the correct information, right? And then especially when you're actually a mobile, what you have is your phone. And in times of earthquake, for example, you just go to search and then you will find those information available in your phone directly because we've actually mixed between Google search and Google Maps. So this morning I actually checked my phone and I type earthquake in Indonesia or gempa bumi di Indonesia. And then it will show up, a number of spots of earthquake in Indonesia. It's fascinating how data could be used to tell people that there has been disaster happening in Indonesia. So this is kind of things that we've actually tried to maximize for a broader community. And I think last is a flood forecasting. I'm very proud that Google has been, investing in this AI technology to make flood forecasting information universally accessible. The way we actually develop this is through two models. First is hydrological models. Basically, it needs to know the capacity through precipitation or the number of water going through the river. And then the other model, inundation model, is actually to track where will the river flood will reach. So by combining those two models, we can actually help the people living in those neighborhood next to the river aware that there will be flood, say, a week from now. So that kind of technology that we're trying to help through our AI for good concept. So I think that's pretty much what we have in Google. There are gonna be like a lot of interesting and fun projects moving forward. I'm happy to talk further with all of you if there is any questions. Over to you, Ira.
Thanks so much for the sharing. I think it is noteworthy that the projects that you mentioned have a lot to do with climate change. Yep. One is carbon emissions, the other is about disaster alerts. And I think this particular Southeast Asian region is going to be facing a lot more climatic impacts, a lot more disasters more frequently as well. I think it's really great that Google is supporting these projects, and we'd love to maybe hear more from you later on. But now maybe we pass the time to Annabelle. And Annabelle, maybe you can share a little bit about your journey in AI, which I think is a very interesting journey from startup to corporate, and now I'm not sure what's next. And also your perspectives on AI for social good.
All right, okay, thank you, Vera. And I must say, you must let me know when the Project Greenlight comes out, because I was stuck in traffic for 45 minutes yesterday. When Google Maps showed me it was a 10 minutes ride, I feel a little bit cheated. All right, yeah, so my name is Annabelle Kwok. I'm from Singapore. So I started two AI companies. The first one is a hardware company. The second is a software company specializing in video and image processing. And I sold it to Prudential. So in Prudential, I was overlooking the data initiatives and AI initiatives across Asia and Africa. So mostly in Asia, so we do Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, etc. And about 2 months ago, I left Prudential after 3.5 years there, and now I'm just seeking new opportunities and enjoying life. There's nothing wrong with taking a break, right? So today I kind of want to share with you about 3 points about how you could use AI for social good in your communities. And I'll use some of my examples, but my examples are specific to my experiences. So please, as I share, think about the context of how you can apply it in your community. So we can all agree that AI is a new piece of technology that is very powerful and powerful enough to change the way we do things, correct? And so how do we use it for social good? How do we make the world a better place? So the first thing to think about is, when you want to make a better community, or you want to make the community better, there are blockers. There are people or stakeholders in your way that prevents you from going 5 steps forward. We are not looking at 1 or 2 steps forward because we don't want to be firefighting. When we want social good, we want long-term change. We want it to be sustainable. So what are the key blockers that are preventing you from going 5 steps forward? And how can you use AI to help you, kind of dissolve these blockers? So I know you don't believe that insurance companies want to make insurance cheaper. But yes, it does. Because I think in today's age, it's all about market share, right? Even Louis Vuitton has a premium brand and a more affordable brand. So, insurance companies, they also want to try to make insurance more affordable. So in this case, at the back of our minds in insurance companies, we kind of know that the medical institutions are kind of increasing the cost of the cost that's being claimed. So if you go to a hospital and they find out that you have insurance, they will start adding in, some unnecessary things in the bill. Like, you might need an extra 10 cotton swabs, or you might stay in the hospital for 1 extra night because it's free money to them. They can claim, right? Or it could also be because they know you have insurance. So a normal paracetamol tablet, which costs $1, now costs $10. So because of that, the insurance companies, the cost is higher. And what happens when the cost is higher? We factor that into the pricing. And because we factor that into the pricing, insurance becomes more expensive. And if you think about who needs insurance the most, the rich people need insurance. If they have a medical surprise, right, a medical emergency, they can afford it. But if someone from the lower or middle income has a medical emergency, there goes a big chunk of their savings. And there goes their life planning, right? The plans that they have in the next few years. So insurance is somewhat it is a necessity. And it also, if you can make it affordable, it can be used for a force of social good. So what did we do? So when you submit an insurance claim to the company, we have every item in the bill, right? We can see how many cotton swabs you use. We can see, how many nights you stay in the hospital, etc. So what we did was that we drew the patterns across all the bills, because one thing that AI is very, very powerful at, which is to identify patterns much faster than any other technology that we have built before, right? We can pass through immense amount of data, and it can pick out the patterns. So when we actually passed through all these bills through our AI model, and we actually drew the connections, and we went to the medical institution, like hospital, and it's like, why every time you bill us for paracetamol, it costs $10 when this hospital is costing us $1 instead, right? If we went to them bill by bill and not drew the patterns, they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll just change this bill. And if we will focus on firefighting bill by bill, which is like, 1 step forward, it's not a sustainable change, right? We can say, oh, please change this. But now when we draw the patterns, we can hold them accountable, right? So think about it in your context. How can you use AI to kind of dissolve the blockers by gathering evidence or gathering data to hold these parties accountable for their action, right? So that's the first point that I want to share. The second point is that how can you use AI to reinvent your industry, right? So I'll give you an example. So in insurance, how many people have bought insurance here before? Okay, I see a lot of people here. One of the questions which you all filled up, do you smoke? Yes or no, right? Most of you filled that. If you say, yes, I smoke, but maybe 2 years after you buy the insurance, you stop smoking, does your price change? No, you still pay the same premium. Why should that be the case, right? Your risk is now lower to the insurance company because you stopped smoking, you made the effort to become healthier. So shouldn't you be rewarded for that? Shouldn't that be reflected in the price that you pay for insurance, right? So because in the past, without all these data points, insurance companies cannot actually factor all that into the pricing. But now, with all these data points and with AI, we can calculate the repricing very, very quickly, right? Without AI, yes, we can still recalculate the pricing, but it'll be so slow. How many people here have insurance? It's millions of people. If we didn't have AI, the recalculation of the pricing couldn't have taken place so fast. So I think with AI, you can also look at it at how do you reinvent your industry. Another point on reinventing your industry, like in insurance, is that we managed to insure the uninsurable. In the past, people with diabetes or people with autism, they are already a financial risk to the insurance company, right? It's like if your diabetes your health risk is very high. If you are my customer, I'm sure to lose money, right? But people with diabetes in modern medicine live to an age of 80 years old, 90 years old. They live long. Why? Because we have new medical support in place. So now with more data points, insurance companies can also now insure the uninsurable. And that is what we were doing in our previous company, in our previous team, to recalculate the pricing and to use data to create a very, very strong use case, which we can then present to management and say, hey, there is no reason why you should not insure the people who are, on the milder side of the diabetic spectrum or diabetes scale, or on the lower side of the autism spectrum, right? So that's second thing. How do you use AI to reinvent your industry? The third part, which is kind of a plug because I'm the ambassador for Singapore Kindness Movements, I'm a kindness ambassador, which is how do you use AI to promote kindness? How do you use AI to promote kindness? And come on, kindness can be applied to any industry, and it is a necessity in any community that you want to build. So one of the examples that we came across in Prudential was that we were looking towards this vendor, which does this thing where if, let's say, your teammate does well, your boss then gives some credits, like some points to your teammate instead of just saying a thank you email. So you give thank you email and maybe 5,000 points. And eventually this 5,000 points can be redeemed for a Starbucks voucher, or it can be redeemed like for a hotel staycation if you have more points. So this system is very common in large companies. It has been used in Citibank, Johnson & Johnson, Sony, LinkedIn. A lot of big companies have a system like this. But one of the big problems is that when there's money involved, what happens? People start cheating, right? So if a manager is good friends with Agung, the other manager, he'll be like, Agung, I have 10,000 points in my credit. I give you 10,000 points, you give me 10,000 points, we don't give to our team, okay? Right? So what is the problem here? It started off with good intentions, but the initiative to kind of pass it on to your team members, to say thank you, to have that culture of gratitude became missing. So what this vendor did was that they trained an AI model to see where all these points are going into. Because one thing good about AI is that it's good at identifying patterns. Yes, patterns. So now that it can identify patterns, you can say, hey, Agung, why do you keep giving your points to Annabelle? And it raises a red flag. It opens the conversation for an investigation, right? Or something like that. It doesn't scold him immediately, but it creates a red flag. And on the other note also, it can say, hey, there are 10 people who give points to Non. Non, you are a star. You are a key talent in our company. And then the company can go, okay, we should develop Non's career because Non is, a very key member in his team. And then, because of that, you have that culture of, improving. Thank you, the culture of gratitude. Thank you for your service and thank you for working so hard on this project, etc. So, how can you use AI to alter the social fabric in your community to promote kindness, right? So it can be used to hold things accountable. So remember, what are the 3 points? The first one is about how do you use AI to hold accountability, right? The second point is how do you use AI to reinvent your industry? And the third point is how do you use AI to promote kindness? All right, so that's my time. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Annabelle. For those of you who are wondering, yes, Singapore actually has a kindness movement, and it's not Bachanda, all right? It really has a kindness movement. It's not a joke, but I think thanks for summarizing your own, sharing. So with that, maybe let's go over to Non
All
for
right.
his introduction as well as his views on AI for social good.
Okay. So, but before I begin, I would like to ask you guys a very question first. Does anyone know what is AI is?
That's a great question. I was actually wondering whether we should actually do a definitions thing first.
First of all, can I stand? Can I? Yeah. Let me ask you another question. Everyone know what is the AI, right? It is called artificial intelligence. But does anyone knows how it's used or how to use it? Yeah, someone does, someone doesn't, right? And what if we haven't studied engineering? We have no idea what the data is. But we know that AI is going to replace us. How could we do, right? Let's see some data first. According to the World Economic Forum, almost 84 million jobs will be replaced by AI in the next 3 years. However, AI is not only a threat, but it's an opportunity as well, because it will create a job, almost 100 million jobs worldwide. But what should we do as a human? What should we do as the one who doesn't know about AI or as the ones who doesn't know about any technical stuff? I want to ask you the next questions. Does anyone have heard of like e-commerce before? Yes, right? How about the metaverse? During the COVID-19 outbreak, e-commerce has been boom because like many people had forced to shift behavior from offline to online and reordering video shopping, and the industry has increased its revenue. However, there are a lot of people lost their job. Same as the metaverse. Many jobs has been created for the metaverse, but now this year the metaverse is all gone, right? If someone talking about the metaverse, it's like, oh my God, are you dreaming? It's AI now. And it's going to be after the AI again. It's going to be the green project, carbon credit, or it's going to be another project. But the fact is, it's going to affect us because this is not only the word. And what should we do? Let me clarify more. If we ask ChatGPT, anyone know about ChatGPT, right? If we ask generative model, what the job you could replace, this is the list, such as the mathematicians, accounting, auditor. Anyone study accounting here? All right. Even news reporter is going to be replaced because it can write very well, right? It has a perfect English, it has a perfect grammar, and also it has a lot of data as well. And if we ask the researcher, they see the same. You can see the point, right? Mathematician is the first one for them. And these are the jobs that is going to be replaced. But actually, does AI can do the job without us? Does ChatGPT can write the article without the one who prompted the information? It can generate automatically. If I ask like, what's the news today? Does ChatGPT know that? No, right? It requires a person who can use it and to understand the behavior. And even more on that, we can leverage it themselves. That is why my company exists. I was one of the capstone for my master degree at Carnegie Mellon in Thailand University. We first built the project that is created a project about managing people to know and understand more about technical stuff. We have teach and we match people with experts from non-technical background to technical background. It's basically a program management. Our model is very easy. We have the people in our community, we encourage them to stand up and learn more about technical because the technical is coming no matter what. And we match them with the experts, such as like you two, but here in Thai landscape. And then we invited them to create a program and learn and structure them and send them to the corporate to get the work. That is basically our job. But there is a key challenge in the landscape of Thai, as my experiences. The first challenge is that, do you think ChatGPT is very easy to use? You just type, right? Type what you want. Write me an article, and then it generates an article. But for those in the community, especially the one who is not in the English-speaking language, like Thailand, it's very hard. Because in order to articulate your idea eloquently, you have to understand English first. It can use Thai, but the grammar is wrong. It can use our language, but it cannot communicate. We know instantly, right? That is AI. That is information from AI. So the thing is, you have to learn from the basics to articulate your idea. That is the first thing for the generative AI, such as ChatGPT. But in terms of like another AI that can like that is predictive model, can predict the weather, can predict the disaster, you have to understand what it talks first, right? So the language is one of the things. That is the key challenge. Secondly, it's about critical thinking. Do you believe in what ChatGPT tell you? Do you believe in what AI tell you? The first thing that comes to mind, all right, it's good. It must be correct because it's doing the regression from a lot of data that is have it scrape or get it, right? It must be correct. But it's applied for the philosophy as well. Most of the people doing something doesn't mean it is the right thing to do. It's applied for AI. So you must have the critical thinking about it. You have to fact check what it provides. Even it is come from the biggest company, even it's the ChatGPT, you have to check it's all the way. You have to check it from the outsources, from the news, from the information, from the research. And the thirdly is infrastructure. Most of the people have computer that can access the model, but not all the people have. So if we have to do the thing from the social work or for the people in the community, we have to set the target first. Otherwise, what you teach or what you correct is not the right thing for the right people, and it doesn't do it. And to summarize all the point, if we want to understand more about what the AI does, the first thing is learn English. That is the thing. Second thing is learn how to think. Don't believe in AI like you don't believe in another people. Trust yourself. Trust the sources. And the thirdly is keep your computer wisely. That's all.
All right, thank you, Non. So Non has given me an idea for the first question, right? Basically, it's about how do you explain what is AI? But to make this more fun, Non, I'm going to give you the cue of how do you explain AI to a 5-year-old?
To a
All right,
5 years old.
all right, that's yours. Hang on.
All right.
Then Annabelle, all right, how do you explain AI to a 50-year-old? 50, yes, elderly person, right?
Yeah, I'm not 50 years old. How
Exactly,
would
but I know you can connect with people, so I know you can do that, right? And Agong, how do you explain what is AI to a social activist working on the ground like many of our YCL alumni?
You make me
Right.
excited now.
So whoever is ready can go first. I know I've given you something to think about. Whoever is ready can go first.
Okay, I'll go first.
50 years old. All right,
50.
go.
Okay, disclaimer, I am not 50 years old.
yeah.
But I'm thinking if I were to explain AI to someone around my parents' generation, I think there are two types of people, right? There are people who are very afraid of AI, that AI is going to take over the world. And then there's another camp of people who are very excited by AI and thinking AI will solve all the world's problems, right? So to the people who are afraid of AI, I would say that it's human nature to fear what we don't understand. And AI being something very complex, it's very hard for them to understand, right? Some of them can't even figure out how to use TikTok, right? My parents are still on Facebook. so, so how I explain to them is that, don't fear AI. Try to look past that fear and understand that it's like a sword, it's like a tool. It's how you use it. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad, right? So if you think about it in the context of social good, there's a lot of ways that you can use AI for governance. But does governance mean replacing humans and saying that, I will send you to jail and I will send you to jail and you to jail? That doesn't mean that, right? You can use it to automate either a full automation or part of an automation. You can use it to augment a process. You can use it to reinvent the process or to, just have something completely new, right? So it was like the era where the Kindle, Amazon Kindle came out, and they were saying, is the Kindle going to replace the hard copy books? No, it did not. Is it going to create new jobs? Yes, it will create new jobs. Is it going to be difficult when it creates new jobs? Yes, because people don't like change. People don't like learning new skills and upskilling themselves. So to them, I would say, look past the fear of AI. And to the people who are very excited, I would say, calm down. AI is not going to solve all the world's problems. However, one thing I'm very excited about is that I see a lot of young people now getting into coding at a very early age. So we're going to see a next generation of coders coming up. And with coders, you are empowered to build things that can make an impact. And from this bunch and this new generation of coders, you see a lot of entrepreneurs coming out, right? The danger is that how do you code for good and not code for, the other way around, right? Who is it to determine that this is a good program or that's a program which could be used for other purposes? And I think having that guidance to actually say, let's not build this, let's try to build this in a certain direction, still needs a bit of guidance from the older generation, because they have an understanding of what works with the law, etc. And I think that's where these people could actually come in to provide support for the younger ones. So yeah.
Thank you. Well put. So who wants to take the next? Agum?
Yeah,
All right, okay.
sure.
Social activists. What does
Yeah,
AI mean to
social
them?
activists. But before I answer that question, just to add an answer to your questions, apart from ChatGPT, Google also have Bard. Bard.google.com. It's actually available in Bahasa Indonesia, in Thai, in Vietnamese, Japanese, and Korean. So you don't have to learn English.
There you
It's
go.
available in Bahasa
There you
Indonesia.
go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Something new.
All right.
Hope-
So now you know who need to learn more about AI, right?
Always learning. Always learning.
Yes.
Hang on, I have to defend ChatGPT here. Just for, not that I represent OpenAI, but they also have it available in multiple languages.
Yes.
And Facebook is also coming out with their version. Oh, no, sorry, Apple. Apple is also coming out with their version of ChatGPT, and they're spending millions of dollars every day to build it. So stay tuned for the
So
news.
basically,
Yeah,
you'll have a
stay
lot
tuned.
of options. Try them all
we
out.
all love
and,
Google,
and make your
right?
own decisions, right?
Like, can we show Google some support?
All right,
Okay.
try to be product agnostic now. Talking to social activists, I'll always start with a problem statement. Probably take an example of flood. Social activists can be very on fire. They're very passionate on things, right? Say environmental activists. They have been campaigning a lot that, hey, government didn't do anything about it, using taxpayers of money, but the result is zero and none. So I'll probably start with my pitch on talking on the problem statement. Let's take an example of flood. Flood globally has severely affected 250 billion each year. And it actually, economically speaking, the adverse impact around 10 billion US dollar every year. Can you imagine that? And there is nothing that we can do. It actually goes on and on and on. Through an AI, we can actually help reduce it. Say, flood forecasting. Through the flood forecasting, say, we actually can predict that statistics where the river will go, like the number of water in a certain areas, the number of precipitations in go, and where the river will flow. That system or technology will help you as an activist to be able to befriend with a lot of key stakeholders using technology. But that's only one example. The other example, all right, I try to be not biased, but I cannot. One of the things that we're very proud is through Android earthquake early warning system. Is there anybody here using Android phones? Yeah. It's actually embedded in your phone. We have an accelerator, or you call it like a machine in your phone. Whenever the earthquake happens, for example, the accelerator will give ring or alert to those phones, and then it actually helps to spread to other Android. Say the epicentrum of a earthquake is happening here in this building. Your phone is gonna be alerting you right away, not right away, I'm sorry. It's like a 10 or 5 seconds before the earthquake so that you are aware that it's gonna be earthquake. Unfortunately, it's not available in Indonesia yet, but I think it's available in Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, I suppose. But hopefully it's going to be available soon in Indonesia. So hopefully that explains. We'll start with a problem statement, try to give an example of how disaster happens so that there can be, the AI technology will be accepted by them. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just add on to your point is that, some might see that, okay, Google, of course, Google can do anything, right? They are a big company, but how can you as a social activist do something and build something from your bedroom, right? So I would say is to go out and look for data sets. And there are a lot of data sets floating out there, and you don't have to program everything from scratch, right? You go on GitHub, you look for something, and you ask whether you can, collaborate with them. So one example that we were doing in our team, which we really did build from the ground up, was a dengue detector, an AI model. So a dengue detector, how do you know when dengue cases will happen? So we put the data sets of places with bodies of water. And using that, and then we use Google Earth and image processing to actually identify these bodies of water. And this kind of information is free. And these are all data sets that you can actually get hold of. So you don't have to be a part of a big organization to actually build something, or a big team to do something. You can actually look for free open source data sets and build something from scratch by yourself in your bedroom.
I feel I want to add a project before we hand over the non, right? One of my favorite projects I heard about, and this is in India, so we talk about the idea of vernacular languages. So the villagers, they're writing in their own vernacular languages. They don't know English. They may not even know Hindi to be able to send any sort of petitions or even fill government forms. So what these kids did was that, very simple, right? You basically scan whatever written letter. It will process the writing and the images in it, convert it to either Hindi or English, and then send the form based on what's written over there to the relevant government agencies, automatically email it, right? And then when you get a response, similarly, translate it back again, and then print out the response. So it's basically a printer, scanner, and a computer. That's it, right? And these are kids 16 years old who did this project, right? And this is how they get access to government schemes, access to even justice in some cases. But not to take away, Non, how do you explain to a 5-year-old?
Okay, so I think this is the hardest thing I ever have. So maybe I start with my wife first. Hello, right? So I would tell them, okay, it is your new toy that can help you doing anything. For example, if you lost your toy, you don't know where your toy is. This will tell you, hey, this is your toy, like this. But in the mobile phone, I show them this. This will tell you where your toy is. And I think they will understand, maybe.
So showing by example that you can
Right.
recognize
Right,
objects, basically.
because the kids cannot reasoning that on that age. Yeah.
Right. Very cool.
So I try to.
I will try it on my 5-year-old at home and see whether she understands what I do. All she knows is that I type on the keyboard every day. All right, so we actually are open for Q&A right now. I'm not sure anyone in the audience has a burning question right now, because I definitely have a lot of questions I would like to ask. But while you are thinking about what is a good question that you want to raise to our panelists over here, maybe let me start with the first question. All right. not the first question. I asked many questions so far, but this particular question is on, how can AI be used, right, to help advance the principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And the reason I'm asking this is because in the YSEALI forum, right, we had a really great session on DIA yesterday. We had like a role play exercise and so on. I think it brings home the question, as we see new technologies coming up, do they advance those principles or do they regress them, right? And if we want them to advance, and obviously we want them to advance, what should we do? How should we use AI in a way that advances it? Right? So maybe if you could share your thoughts or maybe what your company is doing on this front, maybe you're going to elaborate a little bit on the principles that you spoke about. I think that'd be really helpful.
I can start. As I mentioned earlier, we were among the first companies globally to publish our set of AI principles, I think back in 2018. And one of the principles that we launched basically say we have to avoid creating unfair bias. That's for sure like the backbone of our principles when we're actually developing products. Just take an example. Has anyone here often used Google Translate? I bet yes. There's one really good case studies where we actually identified the system at that time cannot identify whether it's a he or whether it's a she, because for some languages it's a neutral. Like, I don't know, like in Spanish, if I'm not mistaken, there's no her or his. So when you're trying to translate it, it came up neutral, which is very confusing for Indonesian or for German or for French, basically, because they have this, how do you call it, like the her or him kind of stuff. And then the way that we actually develop a products to enhance, to avoid creating unfair bias, is that our AI system has learned a set of data through Wikipedia. We're actually learning, oh, this say, I don't know, person is actually a he, or this legend is actually a she. So that data set, we've actually learned it through available data that is publicly available. So through that learning, our Google Translate has improved so that when we're trying to, say, translate from Spanish to Indonesian or vice versa, the system can detect that, it's a she or it's a he. So that's only one example. I think the other examples, there are a lot, but I think we are still striving to do that, to make sure that whatever we do in every products that we have, it's try to avoid gender bias or unfair bias as much as we can. So yeah, that's my take.
Thank you, Agung. How about the other panelists? Sorry? I mean, you can have a take on it, or
Yeah, yeah.
ask another question as well.
Yeah, no, I think I covered it before in my talk just now, which is how we use AI to insure the uninsurable. And that includes people with diabetes, on the milder end of autism, and even pregnant women. In the past, no one wanted to insure, like if you're already pregnant, it's very hard to buy insurance. But now, with that we can actually recalculate the pricing as the lady is pregnant. Like after 3 months, if you step on the weighing scale, we associate the weight with a good health, a healthy pregnancy. We actually give them cashbacks. So I think in that sense, there's many use cases of how we have already used AI to improve that.
Yeah, but I would like to add some point as well. But in terms of like DE&I, right? There's like inclusivity and stuff. I think the languages is one of the problem as well. Even like not to mention about the BART or like anything, but when we like have to learn a new language, we are going to approach and access the resources, right? But in terms of developer, how could you develop something that could be accessible to anyone? Not even like people with disability or people with braille or something, but almost everyone. And secondly, I think they are like really good approach or like another language model or generative model, such as they avoid to use he, him, she, or anything, but they just use they, right? To avoid misgender. So I think that is a good approach. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering whether there are any questions on the floor. All right. Maybe I think in the middle row. Yeah. I think we got a couple of questions going on over there. Yeah. There's like 4 of you, right? So, and on our students on this side over here, don't be shy. All right, we got a question as well. Okay, I'll come to you right there. Next.
Okay, thank you for this. The talk is actually give me a lot of insight.
Sorry,
And
do you mind introducing
Oh,
your
yeah,
name,
sure,
yourself, right? Because our
Uh,
friends over here. Yeah.
okay, my name is Fatima. I'm a startup founder of Dukungan Remaja, which is we focus into teens mental health. And we're still developing. We started from nonprofit, and now we trying to go to social entrepreneurship for sustainability. And we were mentored by some lecturer, and so we want to collect data, like so we make sure that we target it into the right section or for community and really giving an impact. And so we collect data from like journal research and stuff like that, but unfortunately in some section there hasn't been a research to that. So we're using Google Scholar, but we still have to do survey or our own survey using Google Form and stuff like that. And I was wondering how AI actually can help into that, because it's not just mental health, so we have to know the root cause of what's happening that caused people to have mental health issue, and that's very personal. So maybe how do we make it easier to do survey in which area that hasn't had any data on it? So yeah, it's anyone can answer that. Thank you.
Sure. So, do you understand the question, or shall I restate it a little bit? Okay. So, I think I'm just going to restate it. I'm not. Please let me know if I'm correct. So, what they're sharing is that if you're going into a new domain, a new area, and you might find that data is difficult to gather in that space, how do you go about gathering that relevant data in
Yeah,
order to be
yes.
able to use AI tools and
Yeah,
apply
yeah,
them?
that's right.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. I mean, maybe we can have one person take that question. Sure. All right.
Thank you. To begin with, I think our approach on AI is that all of our products, like AI-powered products that we have, it's basically trained based on the data. So we need to have the data. And we have to make sure the data is publicly available. So everything is available in search, for example. That's something that we can actually help to track. We were not going after like your personal data, because it has to, you as a person has to give your consent, right? In every apps that you actually downloaded. So we will not go pursue on that path. But the thing is that as long as the data is publicly available, and of course in Google search, you can actually help identify which one is, I don't know, like more factual or not. So that specific set of data could be assessed by our system. And how, to your point, how basically an apps help to support basically the app that you developed. If there's like lacking of data, how will that help your apps to basically optimize your systems? Unfortunately, my answer is that it has to be based on the available data that we have. We will not go further any data that is go beyond paywall, for example, because we actually appreciate and we respect all of the publishers that we have because it's actually subscribed. So we will not go above that one. But we will only detect the data that is, again, publicly available. So as many as the data that you have, that has to be provided to your apps, because the more data that is actually exposed to your apps, the more sophisticated or the more like the smarter your app will become. So that's my take on your app. And the second, I think in terms of program, I know that you're a co-founder of your own startups. We actually, again, this is not promotions, but just for informations, we have a Google for Startup Accelerator programs. It's a 12-week programs that we offer virtually and in person, where we actually provide like a mentorships, we provide like a tech, we provide non-equity funds to a selected startup founders to basically develop your own startups. So watch out for the upcoming Google for Startup Accelerators. I think it's available for Indonesia as well as Southeast Asia in general. So yeah, that's my take. Hopefully that answers and satisfies your questions.
Very, very quick one. So if you don't have the data, there's only two possibilities. It's either something that's very new, so you don't have the data, or something that's very old, still on pen and paper, or still in people's heads, or still in historical books. That's why you don't have the data in digital form. So like what you say, mental health, right? It's a new trend. It has existed for a long time, but okay, probably trend is not the word for it, but a new sector. So how do you actually go about collecting data for it, right? So rethink the way that you build things. Your infrastructure right from day zero needs to be able to start collecting data that you can use. And also try to kind of pull data from other sources. It might not be the best fit, but it's as good as it gets. Beggars can't be choosers, right? So try to look at that and slowly from day zero build up your database, because there is a market opportunity. If the data outside don't exist, whatever data you collect is very valuable, right? So think about that. Yeah.
Thanks for your answers. Thank you. We've had a student with a question, I think lady in blue. Right. Yes.
Okay, good evening to maybe night to all the panelists and all the participants here. My name is Amara and I'm from the Faculty of Engineering of Universitas Indonesia. And I would like to ask to maybe all panelists or maybe one of the three panelists, what's the best or most effective way to integrate AI programs to for social good into people's life with the most minimum level of resistance from people? Because in my personal experience, there are some people who are still not used to using AI in their everyday life. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you very much.
So maybe I can take it first because like I'm tackle this problem as well. From what I have been experiences, especially like maybe because in Thai landscape, the first thing is understand the behavior. Yeah, as I mentioned, if before e-commerce, people have been forced because of the COVID, and then the number of like big e-commerce had raised. The same thing, the same logic. The first one is understand behavior, understand the problem. Start with why they have to use our AI, why they have to be integrated. Because if I'm driving right now, if I'm writing the article, I don't see any AI can help me. But when I see it, all right, I need to do a learning curve. I need a new learning curve for the AI. And then if I have that learning curve, what I will give? I will write faster. I will write correctly, for example. So the best way to understand the behavior is to interview. Get very in-depth interview. Not one person, 100%, 1,000%, as much as you can. But that person that you interview must be at the same group that you want to be, that you want to give your AI to integrate with. Yeah, so start with the problem first.
Thank you. I think we had a question in the front, right in the front, yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm Suli from Cambodia. I am currently working at the ILO. Maybe everyone know ILO, International Labour Organization. So we care a lot about the employment. So my question is that how can we ensure that the AI can really support the marginalized group like women, dropout students, indigenous and minority group who are currently already suffer and struggling to get access to employment already. And when AI replace or create new job, how can they get ready to enjoy the benefit of AI rather than get painful from the AI? Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Let's take that.
Very easy. Do they have access to internet? Do they have a computer? So then you can learn you can learn it on YouTube. You can learn it. There's so many online courses right now on AI. And I mean, this is a bit controversial, but I don't believe in universities when it comes to, a computer science degree. Yes, it's good for foundation, but it's not gonna teach you the latest of the latest or what you need to know, right? And the good thing about AI is that it's accessible everywhere. And even as a programmer, even as a coder, I'm going on Stack Overflow, I'm going on GitHub, and I'm searching and having my questions answered, and I'm answering questions there. So I think the good thing about this context is that anybody can learn AI, right? And if that is something that they are interested in, and if that is something that they want to pursue, they can then learn AI and do freelance gigs online without actually leaving their families and their villages or whatsoever. So I think that's a good start for them.
So the first step is infrastructure and device access
Yes.
as a base before we talk about AI and skill development and so on, right? We have a question. We have also an online audience, by the way, right? Then a camera right there. We have a question from this person called Henschel. So the question is this, it's on Facebook. Since using AI among young people is growing, right? And they are not, basically the point here is that, this is a student, and the student is worried about AI detectors and the fact that they aren't available. And I think this is a very conscientious student, right? Because the student is worried, what if my work gets detected, as a false positive for being generated, even though it's not. So maybe you can, I know the current status of AI detectors, but maybe you can share with the audience about where that space currently is right now, what should they be concerned about, and what sort of things they should take note of.
Well, thanks for the questions. I think the point that is paramount to understand is that AI is no risk product. As I mentioned earlier, AI is always about risk. There is risk in AI. We have to acknowledge that the risk is there. But it's not only about mitigating risk, but also think of how AI will help address social and scientific challenges. I think that's the point that is very important to make here. There has been a stereotype everywhere about, hey, I think just to try to answer the questions from the previous participants, the stereotype is actually things that AI will replace jobs. Well, I think we have to acknowledge the pros and cons of AI. That's for sure. But according to the research, like a valid research, AI will be complementing existing jobs than replacing jobs. I think one of the report that we actually had in Google is that in Indonesia alone, for example, the jobs that it created by AI is actually benefiting around 192,000 people. So the 30,000 is actually direct jobs. It's like an artist, like programmers. The other 36,000 is actually indirect jobs. It's like marketing, or myself as a government affairs folk is actually affected by AI. And then the rest, the 90,000 jobs, is actually the spillover. It's like those who are the driver in the ride-hailing companies, or like a nannies in the street food who is actually selling food. So those kind of things that AI will create will create an opportunity rather than a challenge. So instead of heavily thinking that AI will adversely affect your life, I think it's better to put our minds and think that it will be helping complementing the existing jobs than replacing the one that we have right now. So yeah, I think that's my take.
Thank you. Maybe let's take a few more questions. We can take a few questions together because we do have a time limit, and I want to make sure people get their questions answered. I think we have two questions, one over there and right on top. We can hear it back to back. Oh, and over here as well. Okay.
I cannot stand.
So we'll do this side and then we'll do this. But keep answers short.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your thoughts about AI. It's really insightful, and this is a great discussion because this is a hot topic basically in the younger generation. By the way, I'm Jepoy or Jefferson from the Philippines and one of the YCL alumni here. So my question would be focusing more on the legal implications of AI. So right now, people are using AI from arts, writing essays for their education. But can we move to your perspective, your personal perspective in terms of the legal implications? Like, how do we make sure that the people who are using AI in a very bad way to be held accountable for their actions and really ensure that we are still protecting the rights of the people, especially nowadays through social media platform. I know you know these issues already, so what are your thoughts about it?
Okay, so hang on a minute. We'll take the other question at the back over there. Sorry, no, we got the last row there, right? Somewhere, yeah. Okay, we'll take on this side as well, right? Okay.
Hello, sir. My name is Moses. I am from master student at Binus University. I wanna ask about how data science is impacted to develop the new product, because you said that we should train the data and then we can develop our new product or application that can be running in the public, right? So how data science impacted to the build of the application or a new product for the artificial intelligence, especially? Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you. And we had a couple of questions here. I think two gents at the back. Sorry?
Test. Okay. Greetings, everyone. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Mohon Farata Nugroho. I am a university student majoring in computer engineering from the Faculty of Engineering, University of Indonesia. And I'm here to ask the panelists just one question. So the growth of AI is rapidly fast, even being called as the new tech bubble of the 21st century. And my question would be, how do we actually prevent AI being used as a social harm without actually limiting the freedom of the people from accessing it? Because as we all know, nowadays there are such tools as a AI voice changer or an AI's video face changer, like some sort of deep fake. Is getting more advanced, and now commoners, people such as scammers or harmful people, are using it to take advantage of people. So while we're talking about the power of AI for social good, we need to address also the freedom of AI being used as a weapon of social harm. So I'd just like your take on it, and how do we actually prevent it without actually limiting the freedom of the people? Thank you.
Fantastic. I think the first and third question is quite similar, so we can take one more question from this side. Do we have any students want to ask a question? All right, okay, over there, thank you.
Okay, so first of all, good evening, panelists, and good evening, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Regina. I'm a chemical engineering student from the University of Indonesia, and I just have one question. So basically, we live in a third world country, right? And we can say that a lot of people don't really have access or have good enough access to use technology or Wi-Fi, etc. So I just want to know the panelists' opinions on how or if AI can actually be more reachable for people in the lower income sectors of third world countries. And for example, maybe taking from the flood forecast of from Google, like how can people who live near the rivers that don't have access to the internet know that the program actually exists and be aware of the floods that are going to come near them? That's all.
Fantastic question, thank you. So let me just recap the questions. We have 3 questions, 3 panelists, and 3 minutes, okay? Right. So first question is basically limiting social harm without minimizing freedom, and of course legal implications of AI in that sense. The next one is data science and the importance of it in development of new AI products. And the third will be how to make AI more reachable for lower income persons and families. So who wants to take which question?
I think I'll.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I go to first? All right.
Okay.
Here you go.
1 minute, 1 minute.
I'll do a quick take on all 3, very quick. Yeah. So number 1, which is a really, really good point to build, a good question to ask, which is, we don't know the answer yet, right? With AI, it's a cat and mouse game with the legislations and the policies, and that's what is being discussed right now in the US court, in the Singapore court, in Europe, etc. We are all trying to figure this out as we go along, right? It's a cat and mouse game. Does that mean that we should slow down and we should stop? I don't really think so, right? But, this is a good conversation that we are having, and to be honest, we as a world, we don't know, and that is something that we are trying to figure out together. The second point about data and products, it needs to be a business fit, right? You don't build an AI software that is very flashy with all these data points and models, but there's no real business use case. Ultimately, there needs to be an alignment on a business front of it. And the third one about accessibility in areas, unfortunately, you do need infrastructures, but thankfully, I think there's a lot of organizations out there who do a lot of social outreach, a lot of grants. So I think that is one approach to take as well.
Sure. I think just to add a little bit of flavor on what Annabelle answered on your questions, I think we have a part that we have to be bold and responsible. We have to do it together. That's why when we're trying to develop these projects, we as a Google cannot do it alone. We have to be relying on the key stakeholders, like the local government, whether they can actually provide like a free Wi-Fi for the community or basically a cheap mobile phones for them so that they actually stay alert if the disaster happens. So I think my point is that we have to do it together. To the first and the third questions, it's a very difficult questions, I would say. I'm still learning until today on how best to answer those questions. But I think one thing that I need to emphasize here is that we actually respect all of the copyrights. AI needs to do that because it's actually your intellectual property rights. We cannot breach that. And then the way we do it, one of the things that we do, for example, in Google, if we provide like a watermarking. So every time that we generate from our systems, it will show up as that it's actually an AI made, that kind of stuff. So you can easily identify which one is which one is the original, and which one is the AI generated, for example. So that kind of things that we trying to improve, but of course this is actually still things that we have to do it further. Yeah.
Thank you, Anon.
Actually, for the first question, I think it depends on the scope of what they did. If like they're writing essay or they copy some hallucinated information, they will get zero instead because there are websites like Zero GPT or like Turnitin that can do. But for the big scope, like what you say, like fake voice or anything, I think there needs a policy on cybersecurity to do it. However, it doesn't figure it out yet, but it is in the progress, like you two say. Yeah, and for the other questions, I all agree with the points. It's already time. It's already time.
Lightning fast answers. Please, I think one of the big takeaways over here is that this is a developing space, right? Which also means that you as young leaders, right, have the opportunity to shape how this discussion moves, in the direction that it moves, right? And we talk about opportunity spaces. AI is a great opportunity, and I hope you get yourself into it and bring your own voice to the discussion as well, all right? So please join me in thanking our lovely, wonderful panelists, Don, Annabelle, and Agum.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks very much. And now I will hand the time to Hasna. All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you very much
Thank
to
you.
all speakers along with our moderator for today's very intriguing discussion. We hope that the implementation of AI can help to increase the number of youth participation in tackling social issues that are currently happening in today's world. And if you find yourself enjoying this event, as you may all know, at America also hosts various programs. So we are going to have a free workshop for you. So we have here Swift. All right. So Swift at America, there will be 3 sessions. So make sure you mark your calendars to join our free AI workshop. And you can visit our member booth outside this auditorium and reach out to our staff for registering yourself. So make sure you don't miss out. And also you can visit our website at www.atmerica.or.id to stay updated with our upcoming events. And you can also develop more brilliant ideas by submitting your event ideas here, and we will make it for you. Also follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ATMerica for interesting contents, giveaways, and so much more. And you can rewatch our previous programs on our YouTube channel at AT America. With that, it is time to say farewell. Thank you so much again, everyone, for having us. My name is Hasna. See you on the next At America event. Bye-bye, everybody.